This is Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Schaefer. Hello, Jennifer.
Hello, Richard.
I'm so excited to see
Hi.
you at home. You're not quite in your office today, are you?
No, today was a day of Zoom meetings, and I have a bunch of things to do at home, and it was quiet, and so I'm in my office at home.
Aw, we love
I
that.
love
Very cool. I'm in my angel office here in Santa Monica, and
I love it.
I'm not wearing headphones because it's only taken me, how many years have we been doing this? All these years to do this, and I think I can do this without hearing myself talk. Anyway, welcome to the Hacking the Afterlife podcast for all you folks driving in your car where I listen to
For the first time or the last
it.
time?
Your first or your last viewing pleasure.
Or everything in between.
And Jennifer and I met up about 8 years ago, and then the past 2 years we've been doing this podcast where we talk to people on the flip side with the assistance of our friend Luana Anders, who passed away in 1996 and who literally put me and Jennifer together, and then eventually revealed that she is doing the same thing that Jennifer's doing on the flip side. So,
Which is very interesting, because the more that we have, the more, like, there's not an end date to the learning of all of our discussions that we have.
yeah.
You know?
What do you mean? You mean, and almost like because they're outside of time in a weird way, aren't they?
They're outside of time, but they're also, because, like, it was the first time when Morton showed up that I learned that they were learning, right?
What Jennifer's referring to, if I may, one of our first meetings, she said, "Oh, Morton is here." And that was the first time Jennifer and I was having lunch, and she was looking beyond me and said, "Oh, so-and-so is here." And I'm thinking, Morton? Did Bob Morton pass away? And she goes, "No, the guy you made the documentary about, Flipside." I said, "Oh, you mean Michael Newton?" And so whenever she wants to talk about Morton, look at that, I'm pulling up my book Flipside. But it's interesting because then we asked Michael for some really solid advice of how to talk to people on the other side, and he gave us a 1, 2, 3, which we've been
Right.
using ever since. But he also said, as Jennifer's mentioning,
No,
go
Luana's
ahead.
getting her. She's like, she just raised her hand.
Luana, go ahead.
So if you see me looking down, if you guys are actually watching the podcast, I have her name on my clipboard. That's all I have. It's what, this is my Apple Pencil. Yes. Okay. Give me a second. And when I get quiet, for the audience, for people that don't know, that's me looking into things. What we just it was totally set up what happened before this meeting.
Very
Okay.
good. I got a call from a friend of Luana's just prior to our podcast, and I was saying, look how weird this is, just literally as Jennifer and I are about to go on the air. And so, Lou, is there anything you want to add to that phone call, the conversation we had?
Don't question what spirit tells you, I guess. Hold on. Not in those words. Those were my words. Hold on. Sometimes messages are not about the person's health, but we might need to reference something like that in order for you to get to the person to talk to, or for you to,
To make it important enough to follow up on it.
right, correct. And a lot of things that happen are indirect. So, indirect? Does that even make sense? Oh, you go to the grocery store. Okay, now they're funny. They're showing me the Long Island medium. That's so funny. You go to the grocery store. Somebody just lost their dad right in front of you, and then the spirit shows up. Did you go to the grocery store to talk to the spirit? No, you actually went. I'm trying to act like her. You actually went to go get groceries. But in Jennifer's case, you don't do either.
Okay, well, that's a very important point, and we talk about this often. Process. Go ahead.
Okay, the process. So, like, during the day, sometimes I a lot of times actually, I'm like, should I go do this or should I do that? I give Spirit a choice to give me. And they tell me, go do this or they'll tell me what to do. And a lot of times I don't agree with it, but I follow it. And it always ends up exactly what I was supposed to do. Always. I actually fought them once because I wanted to go to my office. And I'm like, don't go to your office today. I'm like, oh, come on. There's no way I can be here. Went to my office when I was told not to. Sure enough, no parking spot. Somebody took my parking spot that day. I had to cancel a client. I couldn't do I had to do the podcast later. It was just annoying. If I would have just listened, I wouldn't have had any of that, trauma. But, they tried to tell me. I asked them. Today, I didn't even ask them. I'm like, I'm just doing it here.
Well, that goes to,
Actually, I did.
well, that
ask.
does go to process. So asking Luana that question. So it's twofold. One is Jennifer's, saying how anybody can ask their guides or teachers, whatever. On the flip side,
Right.
give me an indication of what I should do. Now, people on this side are constantly questioning, and am I making this up? But there is that gut feeling or that instinctive feeling that you have, like, oh, I shouldn't go here, or I shouldn't do that, I shouldn't date this person, or I should, like, hang up before things get worse. And so
Right.
there's that part of the process, but it's also, and Luana, correct me if I'm wrong. So this idea that, somebody that you and I both know, that Luana and I both know, reaches out to me today, just moments before literally moments before we went on the air. What's the process? Is that an emphasis? Is that like an underlining?
She read it before, but we put it in her head as a reminder, and then she just picked up the phone. We did it right when she had time to call, like right when she had a moment with a break in her mind of not, they were able to just slowly like put you into their head. And then thank you, with each thing that she was looking into, that had to get established first in order for the outcome to happen right now, meaning to talk to me or later on as a possibility or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe you could
Yeah.
say
Well, and so Luana, also to clarify,
clearly, excuse me.
So let's say that, Luana, you have an outcome that you want to have. You want somebody to call somebody, or let's just say, not
Yes.
just you, but let's say somebody's loved one.
Oh
on
my
both
gosh,
sides.
so funny. They just showed me Prince. They showed me David Bowie, the whole list. Okay, there might be something there. Go ahead.
So, well, that's the question now. So now you've just put those people in
Oh,
Jennifer's mind. Go ahead,
because they're showing me David Bowie's wife.
Iman.
Right. And I don't know why. Hold on. Didn't you mention something to her? Or didn't you send her something?
When we
A long time ago.
a long time ago, we talked to David. It's in Backstage Pass, the flip side.
Right. They did show me the book.
And he mentioned something about the little signs that he tries to use to let her know that he's there. And then he was very specific about, I think there was a pet or an animal that he's really connected to, that she had, et cetera, et cetera. And so,
Hold
well,
on.
let's ask him, has that worked?
It did work. It just didn't work it worked in perfect timing. I don't think she got it till much, much later.
Yeah, yeah. And so,
but that's just how, that's interesting. That's how time works over there. And then they're showing me like, when we talked about past lives, they're kind of looking at all their lives at the same time. We can't because we don't know about all our lives.
Yeah, we don't know about it. We don't have that perspective.
And if we do, when we do past life regressions, there's nothing that we can do that's proof, right? Other than what we
experience,
right? And of course, our experience is our reality, right?
So, but let's ask David this question, because look, if you're going to show up to talk about the fact that your wife has now, at least on some level, been able to chat with you.
And it was that's so sweet. Hold on.
Please.
At the perfect moment when she needed to hear it. She was bombarded before. And then when she came across it, he showed me her heart was hurting and she was able to read it. and she knew exactly what it was.
So what did she see or read? And I don't want to, we don't want to take credit for it, but what happened? Somebody else? I mean, because of course, that's just the question I was going to have, which is David. So how do you bombard her with, do all your friends sort of reach out that you've been able to connect
Well,
to?
I think even people that she didn't know as well. I think that she's all of it. People that she doesn't know and people that she does know.
And so what was the thing that broke the dam or was that finally got through?
Time.
Time took time. Okay. And so let me ask you about that. So now you're on the flip side and you're trying to get a message to your loved one and you send it in 50 different ways, by texting and whatever it is. I'm going to put a matchbook down on the ground here. I'm going to have this dog like lick her face at this particular time. I'm going to have my friend Billy call up and say, hey, I just had a dream about David. So is that how it works?
Somebody else, because I think it was on, because he keeps showing me Instagram. So it might have been on Instagram or something. I don't know, but it was maybe.
Is that what he's showing you? Is that what he's saying? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to take credit for it, but I did go on Instagram and sent messages a couple of times saying, I know that David's trying to let you know, blah, blah, blah.
I
But
didn't know that you use, because a lot of times you email. So I
could have
didn't
been
know.
somebody else. No, but in her case, I don't have any email for her. The
But
only
somebody-
thing I accessed was that.
Right. And if you posted anything, like,
I mean, somebody else may have. Well, let's ask him. Did somebody?
that's what he said. Like, I feel like somebody else, hold on.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. I think she had a few people going through some of the messages, it could have been your assistant or whatever, her assistants. And they, out of all the messages, they pulled that one out and gave it to her. That kind of thing.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. At a different
Very
time.
good, because I know that we've
Okay.
asked, maybe other
Yeah.
people did. Go ahead.
No, Prince. He's like, it's my turn.
All right, and shift over to Prince. David, look at that. Prince is shoving you out of the chair. Can't believe that.
Prince said he was here first, and he actually was. And he was right.
Oh, okay. Well, you guys just
That was okay. This is what's so funny. I'm not thinking that, but I have Prince written down first and Dave written down second, and then Dave said, he's like, I was there first.
Well,
But
can't we
that's
share a chair?
Okay, hold on a second. He's like, forget about it. He walked away. Come back here. Hold on. The music is a huge thing for everyone. It's the frequencies that get people to pay attention to the signs. So, okay. Animals too. I know. Sorry.
What was that about?
My dog.
I'm sorry.
My dog is really old, and I'm just every day I'm heartbroken because I know it's coming soon. Sorry. So I wasn't thinking that. He brought it up to me with animals.
Animals, okay.
That-
Well, music, and so he's giving you
Like,
all these variations of how you communicate through
Right.
spirit, including music.
mm. That's not very nice.
Well, that's okay. Listen, it's so unusual that we have someone like Hyra who shows up quite often in our podcast to talk about, animals and connectivity. So Prince, I'm sorry, finish your thought, please.
He just told me that he goes, you have to know how much she loves you, my dog Chloe. Sorry. And that's all she does know is how much she loves our family. And try to hold on to that versus her leaving.
And as we've learned from Hyra, which is, they make a plan on coming back. They understand how incarnation works, and we don't. And this idea that certain animals live a certain percentage of our lifetime. If we're going to live 100 years, we might have the same dog 3 or 4 times, or the family of that dog. So
That's true.
and so it's that unusual thing. And we're the same way because we see our lives in terms of 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. But then trees are looking at us like, oh, yeah, I've seen you before. You're the same guy who was here before. And we were talking about this before. Certain sharks live 400 years and craziness. And that shark is like, I bit you like in the frickin' 1900s, dude.
That's funny. That is funny.
Um,
Sorry.
so, but Prince, go ahead. In terms of music, will you pick up, let's say you wanted to reach out to someone that you know, you want to send them a particular message.
Like that's easy. It's dumping music. You know how people call it, that's so funny. Love dumping. You can love dump a conversation before you have it. You could love dump a person before you see them.
This is a new term. What does that mean? Love dump.
It's not a new term. But in fact, they just had it. It was so funny. They just got shown that they had it on Ted Lasso last week. Somebody was love dumping all these gifts. It was actually very funny from Jack, this woman, who's named Jack. But I would do that when I would know that, at the time my son was growing up and we were having issues. And I loved that kid so much, but I would start love dumping him before I got home. And every time I'd remember to do that, there was just something about it, whether it was just in my head or whether I disengaged from it, it helped. So like the number, okay, thank you. I was actually talking to Prince, like, well, what's the number one thing that people use from the other side to get people to pay attention to them? And he's like, music. And then he showed me love dumping as well, love dumping music, from the other side, just like, but he said, if you think about it, we could do that to you guys. Think about what you could do to other people here on the planet. It's the same. It's the same.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then he's showing me too, like a lot of times my daughter and I, we will say, okay, we're going to go to lunch, and then we'll email ourselves where we said in our heads where we want to go. And 99.99% of the time, we both pick the same thing, the same place, and we both pick and we do it even down to what we're going to order on the menu. We end up getting the same thing. We sit there and laugh. And if we ever want to go out to dinner to a place, we'll start thinking it over and over and over again around my husband. And he'll eventually go to the place. He'll say, hey, the best gifts we have is making him think it's his own idea. He'll be like, hey, do you want to go to such and such restaurant? And we're like, yes. And we high five.
That's funny. Well, I wonder if that's always been the case. That some people have been doing this for centuries, let's say, and of course
now they're bringing it in. They're like, some people would say that's witchcraft, white witchcraft.
Yeah, burned at the stake for it, right?
It could be. That's what our animals do to us. That's why we feel so much love for them. That's what they do to us all the time. That's the only thing they know. That's the only thing they can do, right? They can't talk to us about it, so they send it to us.
Interesting. Love dumping. There's also some science that animals that can, they've done some science about, animals that anticipate their owner's arrival like by a mile or something. It's almost like their heart energy reaches outside of them. They really don't know what it is. So, Luana, this is fun. We've got Prince, we've got Mr. Bowie, we've got, who else wants to talk to us?
Okay, thank you. All right, sorry about that. Okay, now I'm sorry. Prince had to finish some things that finished talking to me about my dog.
Okay, very good.
I can't believe you did that. Sorry, everybody.
It's we're all saying a prayer for Chloe. How old is she?
96 years in human years. She's lived an amazing life.
That's great.
But she's in pain. She can't walk anymore, really. So we have to figure it out.
Well,
okay.
Maybe we can ask Hyra to help her.
He's like, I've played with her. He said, I'm not her type.
All right. And so for those tuning in for the first or last time, Hyra's the Oscar-nominated dog. Hyra H. Fazak, Robert Towne's dog, who I used to walk for years and years, and now he shows up regularly to give us advice or, stuff.
And I just had a cat come through for someone who I love dearly, Wendy Zopel, who listens to our podcast. I just want you to know that your cat came through saying that he's around all the time, and that you've been talking to him a lot lately, and he is thankful. He loves being with you outside. Okay, we just got
interesting. And I'm sure many people have had this experience where they're somewhere in a house and they feel like a cat jump up on a bed and then they look around like, and there's no cat there.
Right.
So it's interesting. What's going on there? What's happening with that? How is that working where they, physically present themselves enough that you can feel their weight
Oh,
on
they
the
just
bed?
showed me like they have all their friends do it at the same time. So there's like groups. Boom. You're better together here and over there. So the energies of all of it, and I've learned that too. Yes, thank you. I've learned that. That was Eddie, who's also part of the class, Eddie Hassel. His mother, powerful woman. He is actually teaching a class and he uses her as like just how to do it. And so things are always either going wrong or off, like, lights are going on and off. Like they have to be careful because they have horses. The horses get spooked because if they have too many people in the class that it gets close, the horses will get a little bit, and it's interesting. So he's just reminding me of that, how they do that. And it's fascinating.
So but let's just ask that question because people ask it all the time. How do they turn the lights on and off? And obviously they're not moving the switch.
Energy. It's energy.
So it's energy and they block the line or
it's kind of like laying on it if you were a person. Yeah.
kind of like laying on it, like overemphasizing it in a way. That would overdo it so that the lights would flicker or go off.
Yeah.
So why can't they do more than that kind of manifestation of lights flickering or why not turn
It would become a scary movie.
Well, I mean, why not texting? Let me ask you that because look, texting is energy. It's all electronics, and it can't be.
You guys could try to. Okay, show me again. It's like water trying to text. It doesn't work. Dissipates. He's like, it's challenging.
My point is, it's challenging. It is challenging, but
hold on. We can make music pop up. We can figure that out where we can do stuff like that. But individual texting is a little bit more challenging because we'd rather just have you pick up the phone and call us.
Yeah, that's right. I understand. So it's like, listen, we've heard this before. For them to communicate with us, they have to slow their frequency and energy way, 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 way down. And we have to sort of increase ours. So it's like a fighter jet flying alongside a country road and we're on it with the VW with the windows rolled up. Very difficult for them to pass messages along. But if you're mechanically inclined or an editor, you might be able to imagine a scenario where they could send like multiple snippets of a song, let's say, get the radio station to play the multiple snippets of songs. I guess, but that even then it's about making that connection. Go ahead.
It's also easier. He's shown me being outdoors. So when you're outdoors, there's more room for them. Not saying that they can't do it indoors because they do. Of course they do. But
so what would be an example? Give us an example. Is this Prince now? Prince talking?
No, Hira.
Oh, Hira. Okay, so Hira's saying
going for walks because the animals are there to bring people outside their homes. They're there to, you meet people.
Take you back to nature.
Oh, my attorney, Laura Dana Nessie, just showed up. Like I met her at the dog park. She's no longer on the planet. We won't go there. I'll start crying again. What's wrong with me?
No, well, obviously an emotional connection there. We understand. It's all right. It's allowed. I cry when I read the book, when I'm doing my Audible files.
Oh,
like,
that's
what the heck is this?
People always laugh. My husband always laughs. He's like, you cry more over dead people than you do alive people.
Yes, that might be a problem.
I'm like, well, okay. Hold on. That's me as an Etch a Sketch. Where are they taking me? Give me a second. Oh, they just want to finish up. Going outside, people tend to be a little bit more out of their heads, which allows them easier access to give them a love dump or a love picture. So picture, like they give you love pictures, they give you love feelings, love, like, when you get and they just showed me the chills. When you get the chills, ask who's here. But you can always say, oh my gosh, maybe the devil's here and make it into a devil. That's not them. There's nothing bad that's going to come over you and try to do something.
I
right?
understand.
You
Yeah, yeah.
can, okay, sorry about that. You can get the chills, but there are different kind of phonetic chills when you feel like somebody's behind you or something bad's going to happen. Pay attention to that too.
Well, I must say, you and I were talking about something a couple of weeks ago, and you got a chill as we were talking, and I got the chill. It went right through you and into me. I was listening. You know what I mean? I wasn't thinking, and so here the chill happened to you, and I don't know, maybe the physiological thing is I'm trying to match it. I don't know, but it was like a multiple
Oh,
chill.
they're right. So I will see when I'm in my office, I'll see the spirits floating above the head of the person and then floating back as they're talking, and then they talk. So I know they're giving them things and they go back. And I see the same thing with my own head. You can see it right above here.
Right around there.
You can see the energy. It's right where my hand gets fuzzy.
There is that unusual photograph that somebody took of your hand in front of camera, and
Yeah, you'll see it more right now. You'll see a little bit fuzzy on the top.
interesting. So you can see that. Well, your filters are different than mine, you see. So,
It sucks because I could see every imperfection as well.
well, maybe not. Maybe not sucks. I mean, I think it's fascinating. Look, we try to talk about this as well, the physiological aspect of filters on the brain functioning
Oh,
like a receiver. Go ahead.
it's a chill hug. So your loved ones are giving you what I call a chill hug.
I
Okay.
like that.
And a lot of times too, like you'll watch a movie and there'll be like I would used to always get the chills when I was growing up when I'd see people connecting. Well, that's what I do. I connect people from the other side to here. I didn't know it at the time, but that's when I'd get all these chills or like the music starts blaring when you're at the movie theater. Well, when people used to go to movie theaters, when you're at the movie theater and you'll get the music and you'll get that chill. Like so many people love hanging out at the movie theaters from the other side. They love that. Um, hold on. And they love their loved ones because the loved ones are watching the movie. So if there's something that's important that comes through that reminds them of the loved one over there, they're going to be all in and give them the chills at that time.
So there's another way to do reviews. My relatives on the flip side really want you to see this movie. I mean, we've done this before where I've asked Jennifer, I mentioned to Jennifer something about a movie I saw, and then she tells me the people who were in the theater with me watching the movie while I'm watching the movie. So that's a fun experience to have. But of course, that all then leads to the question of, so are they always paying attention to us? Are they always hanging out, even when we don't want them hanging out? People always ask
Only when you're having sex in the shower.
that. Sex and in the shower. Okay, that would be.
No, I actually was so freaked out by that. I'm like, are they watching? No, they're not. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's not like that. I used to, in the shower, I'm like, don't look at yourself, thinking that they could see through my eyes. Don't look at yourself.
Well, I liken it to if you sit in the audience and you're looking at an actor on stage who's taking their clothes off, for like half a second, you might be like, oh my gosh, their clothes are off. But then after about 20 minutes, you're like, uh-huh. And then after an hour, it's kind of boring because, you've seen, and the people off stage have seen everything before, right?
Right.
They've seen themselves. And so it becomes kind of moot or not that interesting.
Mhm.
Prince, is this accurate, or have you found that to be the case? I know you have a sense of humor about this stuff.
He's like, I just find my own sex here. Like,
What? What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
you can recreate sex, I guess, over there.
Okay.
Why not? They can recreate everything else. We just have never talked about it.
Yes, they rarely talk about it. So,
Something to
wanna-
look forward to.
Prince, do you want to talk about that, or David, do you want to talk about that?
They all left. Maybe they weren't supposed to talk about it.
Okay, they aren't going to talk about. How about you? Luana's still here, though. I hope.
Because she's like they're acting like children, like they just told a dirty secret.
Okay, well, that is interesting, and I'm sure people will be curious about that. So why not?
She's saying we can recreate anything that feels good and helps us. I'm sure you can't, because then you go to the place where you're going to recreate something bad that's happened to you, and that's enough.
Yes. No, I understand. I know, I understand what they're saying. It's a mental thing because, of course, all sensations are mental.
Right.
And the fact that you could recreate a sensational event, let's say, no different than a stadium. We've heard people talk about.
I'm like, what if you're a virgin? You didn't have those experiences? She goes, it's all your lifetime's experiences. So yeah, you might have been a prostitute in a different lifetime where you're not going to really want to have sex like after you get to the afterworld, afterlife.
Yeah. But you're connecting to all the different experiences you've ever had. And I would think your mates as well, your lovers as well.
I'm like, there's got to be something way better than sex over there. And literally, I just heard laughing, and they're just like, yes, there is. So I don't know what that is. I won't even have a.
Well, I know that we've asked the question before, not about sex specifically, but we've heard the term melding, that energies melding together is like 1,000 times more intense.
And I have to melt away.
And you have to meld into the ethers. Well, listen, I know you're heading out of town. Have a safe trip.
Yes, I am leaving with a girlfriend for her birthday.
Have a happy, delightful time.
I could say happy birthday, Jessica, if you're listening tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Jessica. And maybe we can snag her onto our show sometime and sing happy birthday to her. And so will you be back next week?
I will be back on Monday.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, all you folks out there on the flip side, and thanks for tuning in, all you people here on Earth. We hope you have a happy and healthy time, whatever it is you're about to do, and don't forget to love.
Love. And it's much better to have sex here, apparently.
All right, thank you. On that note,
our bodies, because we have our bodies. We're supposed to.
Yes, that's true. And if you can have pizza and cappuccino while you're doing that, all the better, because then we get all the sensation.
And again, nobody's ever wished they would have held back. Okay.
Nobody ever wished they held back on this. When they get to the other side, nobody's ever said, "I wish I didn't." Okay, we love you, Jennifer. Thank you, dear. Okay.
This has been Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Schaefer. For more information, jenniferschaefer.com, martinizone.com, or richmartini.com. Hacking the Afterlife documentary is available on Gaia.com via Amazon Prime.